Good evening. This is the final video from Austin, Texas. General Convention, the 79th General Convention of the Episcopal Church has now concluded. In some ways, the landscape changed. The Episcopal Church is different because of this convention. One of the most striking differences has to do with the emergence of an extraordinarily strong Latin American voice coming out of Province 9. I'm speaking of Bishop Lloyd Allen of Honduras, who stopped the House of Bishops in his demands for translation in a way that reverberated through the rest of convention. In fact, in some ways, it would be safe to say that the party of biblical orthodoxy has now really shifted to include, in a very significant way, Bishop Lloyd Allen as well as the rest of the communion partner bishops. They working together will only increase their level of influence as we as a church pay more and more attention to making room for people who are not Anglo. In some ways, Province 9 is on the forefront, and we will look forward to see how that will continue to shape the future. Another thing that's happened over the course of this convention is, in essence, the ME2 movement came home. A whole evening was devoted to stories being read within the context of worship of both women and men who had been abused inside the halls of our hallowed churches. It was repeated elsewhere, where I and others heard story after story of sexual abuse happening, some of which was in the church, some of which was in our schools, in a way that really has fortified the sense of this should never, ever happen again. And there will be ripples throughout our church as a result of this, as a way of genuinely trying to make the Episcopal Church and our schools safer places and better protected against this kind of sexual assault. Another thing that happened was the enshrinement of the Book of Common Prayer. One can safely say that anyone who wants to use the 1979 prayer book is completely free to do so. It is still the official book of the Episcopal Church. In fact, one of the things that happened was that in some ways we ran out of time. Resolutions around doing a lot of amending for supplemental texts didn't make it to the House of Bishops. It is not funded by our general budget. And so while there will be some people who will work on it, it definitely did not have the force that it had when convention started, which really was a profound commitment to completely rewriting the prayer book from top to bottom. The other thing that I would say is that the center of the Episcopal Church really has shifted to include gay married couples. In fact, one of the things that was surprising, particularly to conservatives, was that some of their most ardent supporters of not changing the prayer book came from young men and women, some of whom were gay, some of whom were straight, but they were united in wanting to make sure that the prayer book remained the official prayer book of the church. As I reported to you earlier, I received a tweet from a young lesbian married to her partner Episcopal priest who said, "There's a lot I'd like to see changed in the prayer book, but I am not willing to jettison or even risk jettisoning an Orthodox view of the atonement." So in some ways, that's the new center. Some might not be happy with that, but that's exactly how things are these days. A redefinition of orthodoxy with a very clear Afro-Caribbean hue, Latin American force, and a center that now really does include creedally Orthodox gay people. So we will see where this takes us in terms of the future. Probably the thing that will most deeply affect us, besides the ME2 movement, realigning ourselves in a whole new way with people who have really been Orthodox all along, meaning people from Central America and the Caribbean, is how we wrestle with the issue of gay marriage for really the whole church and what that might mean for us in terms of the future. Protections have been put into place for those who cannot biblically support gay marriage, and I'm one of those people. But it is also safe to say that that is a part of our new normal. So with that in mind, we will see where the next 3 years take us, and more importantly than the Episcopal Church, how the wider Anglican communion will respond. The Episcopal Church still is being examined for discipline because of their moving forward with gay marriage. Nothing has happened so far except the most limited prohibitions. And yet, there are people in the Anglican communion who deeply support the Orthodox within the Episcopal Church, despite GAFCON's claim to the contrary. So continue to serve well wherever you are. If you are from Central Florida, you should be enormously proud of our deputation. Each one of us worked extraordinarily hard, and I have to say to you, made a substantive difference in the future as well as in the present direction of the Episcopal Church. I look forward to getting back with my brothers and sisters in Central Florida, sharing further what's actually happened and helping us think through the implications for our diocese and life. But safe to say, we are continuing to move forward, and I do believe with all my heart that God has his hand for the good on this church. Thank you.